Maya, is that you?
Yes, it is. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
I can hear you. You can hear me. It's going to be a banner day.
Always a blessing.
Okay, we're the first two. So, and
We'll get this started.
again, out of abundance of paranoia, I'm going to send you one more test message just to make
Okay.
sure you got it. Oh, I'm going to send it again. Apparently, I did something wrong.
There you
I'm like, oh,
go.
it's not working. See, that's what we tested.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we're good. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna read that email that Penny sent. Okay. All right. I see all that. I think we're good. Hey, Jemiah, can we delete the two test messages?
Um,
If we can, it's fine. It's fine. I just like to have as much room at the bottom of the screen as possible for reporters and queries. It's fine.
gotcha. Nope, it's in there.
Don't worry about it. Okay, I'm going to mute until Jerry and Susan join.
Sounds good.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's call with LNI Secretary Jerry Oleksiak and UC Benefits Policy Director Susan Dickinson. I'm Teresa Elliott, Deputy Communications Director for LNI, and we'll get started in just a few minutes.
Hi, Susan.
Hello, can you hear me? There we go.
You're all
My
set.
buttons weren't popping up.
It's okay. You're all set now.
Okay, so Susan is good, and I see Jerry is joining the call. We'll give him a second to pop up. Hello, Jerry. How are you?
Good, Teresa. How are you?
Good, good. Okay. You both look great. I can hear both of you, so we're ready to go. Let's give us another 4 or 5 minutes and we'll get this show on the road.
Thank you. Susan, I sent you a text. I don't know if you saw it.
I did not. I don't have that phone with me.
Okay.
I'll run. I was gonna say I can run and get it.
If you have, how long is it going to take? I don't want you to miss your.
30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Jemai, if you want to give it about another moment, you can switch over hosting to me and then we'll be ready to get started.
Sounds good. All set now.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's call with L&I Secretary Jerry Oleksiak and UC Benefits Policy Director Susan Dickinson. I'm Teresa Elliott, Deputy Communications Director for L&I. Please be sure to mute your phone if you haven't done so already, and you'll submit your questions by clicking the chat icon, which is the blue thought bubble at the bottom of your screen. Please include your name, media outlet, and then your question. In the interest of time, you'll be limited to one question, but time permitting, we'll open up the call for a second round of questions. You may submit any follow-up questions to us at DLIPress, as in Department of Labor and Industry Press, at pa.gov, and we'll address them after the call. For your awareness, this call is being recorded. If you do not consent to being recorded, please hang up now. Following the call, a link to the recording will be provided to the media outlets that participated. We'll start with comments from Secretary Jerry Oleksiak. Secretary?
There we go. Thank you, Teresa, and thank you to everyone who's joined us this week. We appreciate you being here and getting the word out about what's going on with UC and helping to answer some questions that we know many of our claimants have. Just some updates on the numbers. Since March 15th, we have paid out more than $18 billion, with a B, dollars in unemployment claims. That's $9 billion from our regular unemployment compensation system, $7.4 billion from the FPUC program, the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program, which is that's the extra $600 per week. We've also paid out $1.5 billion so far in pandemic unemployment assistance dollars, and that is for people who are not traditionally eligible for unemployment, and $108 million through our Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, which is the extended benefits. And Susan can provide details on those. One figure worth noting, we have paid benefits to over 90% of claimants who have filed since March 15th, between March 15th and May 16th. Let me be more specific. Over 90% of claimants who were eligible and filed for their continuous claims have received payments as of June 15th. So as I've said before, we're proud of these numbers, but we're not satisfied. We still have work to do. Our unemployment compensation system has totaled over 157,000 total overtime hours since March 15th. And we've also increased our UC Service Center staff from 775 employees to 1,349 employees. And we're finishing training for more and more people that we have brought on as we speak. Those are people we've hired from other agencies, retirees. Their training is ongoing. And as we've said, it's a complicated system, so it does take some time for people who are coming into the system to help to learn the ins and outs.
IFB line. This message will repeat until all commercials are over and the news comes back on.
Thank you. Some PUA updates, the fraud update. We are continuing to work with state and federal agencies. We are involving as many investigatory and criminal justice agencies as we need.
This is the WJACTV IFB line. This message will repeat until the news.
Thank you. When we made the initial discovery about the fraud over Memorial Day weekend, we did put a hold on approximately 58,000 claims. And it's important to note that not all of those claims were fraudulent. As it turned out, the large majority of those claims have been verified as authentic. So I know there were some reports that there were 58,000 cases of fraud. That is not accurate. And the majority of those 58,000 claims were actually authentic claims. And we are, because of the ongoing investigation, we won't be getting into any more details on that particular piece. As usual, as we've been saying, if individuals have received PUA or PUA-related payments and did not apply for them, they may not even be aware that they were previous victims of identity theft from sources outside the Commonwealth. And there are instructions on our website, uc.pa.gov, on the way to return checks or direct deposit funds that you may have received as a result of the fraud. Unfortunately, anytime we deal with a crisis like this or a pandemic, we have the bad guys, the scammers who are out there to take advantage of the situation. And as we have been, we're reminding people to be vigilant, to check their credit rating. Free credit rating reports are available through April of next year.
You are connected to the WJAC TV IFB line. Until all commercials are over and the news comes back on.
That annualcreditreport.com is where those free credit reports will be available. And the last thing I'll mention, we have been holding virtual town halls for the public. We've done, I believe, 4 so far. We have 1 more scheduled for Thursday. People can join that town hall by going to access.live/PA labor. That's access.live/PA labor. You can also go into a listen only by calling 833-380-0719. That's 833-380-0719. There are limited audio lines, so we ask only that individuals without access to a computer or a smart device or the internet use those lines. And we remind people to ask questions. We can't get into specifics related to your claim because of privacy issues and other things. So we can talk in general terms and maybe answer some questions about specific claims, but it's really to get information out about what's going on. So with that, I will turn it over to Susan, and then we'll be happy to take questions. Susan?
Thank you. Good afternoon. So I'll talk a little bit more about the restricted days on PUA filing. Right now, people are filing based on the last digit of their social security number. We had 3 days of this last week, and we're currently on day 2 of a second round, which ends tomorrow. And this is all individuals on PUA. It affects everyone, and what they have to do is file for their weekly claims. On day 1, it was your social security number ending 0 through 3. Day 2 is social security numbers ending 4 through 6. And day 3 is social security numbers ending 7 through 9. And the reason we're temporarily doing this is because of the issue that we've been discussing for many weeks now, and that is individuals who weren't able to file for some older weeks on their claims. So the vendor has fixed that, but in order to implement the fix and make sure that it's working the way it should, they have to restrict the number of filers each day. So that's how it affects everybody who is filing on a PUA claim. So far, it's been going fairly well. We still have individuals who can't file for other reasons. For example, they may have requested a back date of their claim. That's separate from filing for back weeks. Requesting a back date means that you want the start of your claim to be earlier. It's not just the continuing weeks for payments, but the actual effective date of your claim. So it seems a lot of individuals have requested backdating thinking it would fix the issue with their weeks, but it actually just holds it up until we look at the backdating issue. So we are figuring that out and figuring out a mass fix with our vendors so that we can approve the backdating for people who would otherwise be approved and let them proceed with filing for their week. So we will be sure to send updates directly to those individuals, to PUA individuals, and put on our website what is happening when we do get to that point and we need for them to go in and file for their back week. Similarly, I had mentioned how individuals had requested backdating of their claims. To prevent anyone else from making the same mistake, we have hidden the backdating button as of the end of last week, so individuals won't be able to click it now and cause problems with their claim. So all individuals have to do in the instructions that we had originally emailed to everyone and posted on our website, for someone to claim the back week that they weren't able to claim, all they have to do is log into their dashboard and go to claim weeks as they do every Sunday. So there's nothing special or different that individuals have to do. They just have to go file for their weeks and not request anything else or click anything else, and they should be able to get through just fine. The PUA, along the lines of some other PUA fixes we have done, as of now, we are still switching everyone over from paper checks to debit cards, and the debit card company is able to keep up with those requests as we're giving them a little bit at a time. So that should be completed sometime soon, and then individuals will have those debit cards in their possession to receive payments on an ongoing basis if they're still unemployed. Also, on Friday, we had done a mass release of payments for individuals who had said erroneously that they were not unemployed due to a disaster. They misunderstood the question. When we asked that question, are you unemployed due to a disaster? It's a very clear cut. If you're not unemployed due to the disaster, you're not eligible for PUA. However, individuals were misinterpreting it. A lot of people, especially if they were unemployed, thought that they didn't really consider themselves unemployed and were taking the word very literally and thinking that because they weren't employed by someone that they weren't unemployed, which is not the case. It's a question simply to see, are you eligible for this program or not? Because if you're not unemployed due to the disaster, then you wouldn't be eligible for the program. So we had thousands and thousands of people, and it ended up being 27,000 people that we had released $154 million worth of payments on Friday for answering that question incorrectly. So those individuals should be seeing those payments sometime, if not already, then sometime in the next couple of days. Moving on to the extended benefits program. I had mentioned this last week that extended benefits will be starting soon. So in the coming weeks, starting next week is when individuals will be filing for their final PEUC benefits if they've been collecting them since the week ending April 4th, and they haven't had any breaks in their filing and they haven't claimed any partial weeks. They'll be exhausting their benefits when they file for next week. So what happens is that after an individual files for their last week of PEUC benefits and their balance on their claim goes to zero, about 2 days later, an extended benefits claim appears, and they'll receive a financial determination telling them how much money that is worth and how many weeks they'll be getting, which will be anywhere from 9 weeks to 13 weeks because it is half of what they received on their regular UC claim. So it is possible for individuals to get fractions of a week. So if someone had 19 weeks of regular UC benefits, they will end up having 9.5 weeks of extended benefits available to them. So the financial determination will go out, and we'll also be putting up the instructions on how to file biweekly. They will be logging into the regular website area for filing biweekly like they would have done for regular UC or PEUC, but it is going to be a different setup and a different set of questions. So we are aiming to get all of this information on our website and issued this week. And by Thursday, we'll share more information on our town hall that we hold at 1 o'clock on Thursdays. And then individuals will have more information about the extended benefits program and know what to expect. So again, claims start being set up next week as PEUC expires on an individual basis. And then the following week is when they can start, claiming regular benefits for it. And just one more reminder that the federal The FPUC program, Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation, that's the additional $600 on top of regular payments. The FPUC program is ending the week ending July 25th. So that's coming up very soon. And for any weeks of unemployment that are claimed and paid after the week ending July 25th, those will not be eligible for the $600 payment. So again, the $600 payment is tied to the week of unemployment. So if for some reason, July 25th, we have to hold that week, we're not sure if someone's eligible, and we release it for payment in August or September, that would still be eligible for the $600. It's all based on the week of unemployment, not so much when it's paid. So that's coming up soon, and we'll be having reminders everywhere, that individuals won't be eligible for FPUC after July 25th. And it is on all programs, including extended benefits, which is starting in 2 weeks. The $600 will be paid on that program, but only for a couple weeks until the FPUC portion ends. And with that, that's all I wanted to share, so we can open it up for questions.
Susan, thank you very much for that information. Our first question comes from Joe Chevalier at Bucks County Courier-Times. I'm going to remind anyone, please, that just joined a call to please make sure that your volume is muted. And if you have not submitted your question at this time, you can do so using the blue chat icon feature at the bottom of your screen. Again, Joe Chevalier from Bucks County Courier-Times asks, we are hearing from people who have part-time jobs as well as full-time jobs who are only getting compensation for full-time employment. Are part-time claims separate claims?
No, the way that part-time, there's actually not a definition in the law of full-time and part-time. Like, you can't say really that a full-time claim is 40 hours and a part-time is anything less. They're not specifically defined in the law. So the way that benefits are determined, if someone can collect benefits or not, are they truly unemployed for a week or not? And that's a question that a lot of people have. I even had someone I know ask me over the weekend because, he was unemployed for 2 weeks for 2 days out of 5 days and was wondering if he would be eligible. So the answer to whether you work a partial week and can be still eligible for benefits lies in your financial determination and what your combination rate is. So when an individual files for UC, we send them a financial determination. It tells them what their weekly benefit amount is. 30% of that weekly benefit amount is called their partial benefit credit. And we also print that on the determination so they know what that is. And then there's a third figure called the combination rate. And so what that is the weekly benefit amount plus the 30% partial benefit credit. And that is together, that's what makes up the combination rate. So when someone reports earnings on a regular basis, week to week, and it might be different every week. Maybe they work a different number of hours each week, and that's fine. So when they report their earnings to us every week, what we do is the total amount of what they reported, we subtract from the combination rate. And if there is any money remaining, we pay them the difference. So if there is no money remaining, if they earned more than the combination rate, and we call that excessive earnings, then we do not make a payment for that week. They're not considered unemployed that week. So it's not necessarily tied specifically to a number of hours, a full-time job versus a part-time job, but it's going to come down to how much they're earning versus how much the combination rate is. So on regular UC, individuals are supposed to report, most individuals are traditional employees and they report gross wages. Of course, now that we have the PUA program, we have a lot more people filing who are traditionally self-employed. Self-employed individuals, when they report ongoing earnings, it's supposed to be on a net basis. So traditional employee work is a gross basis, and a self-employed income is on a net basis. So in both cases, no matter which program you're on, it works the same way. We look to see how much you reported versus what your combination rate is, and we pay the difference. If there is no difference, then you don't receive a payment for that week.
Okay. Susan, next we have several questions regarding PUA backdating. Isaac Pettick from Erie News Now asks, we've heard from PUA claimants that the start date on their claims was incorrect when trying to file for back weeks, and they were not able to claim these back weeks. Are you seeing this, and what should they do if this happens?
Yes, actually, we received the first report of incorrect dates being offered this morning. So it seems like the first round that we did last week of offering the older weeks went okay, but then this second round, there may be some claims that are being offered the incorrect weeks. So we've reported that, and we're waiting, for an analysis to see what the pattern is, who is affected, how many people are affected, and how we might have to go around it and get it fixed so that they can get the appropriate weeks to file.
Okay, and next we have another question from Joe Chevalier at Bucks County Courier-Times on the same subject. We're hearing from people trying to file a biweekly claim that only had the weeks ending May 16th and 23rd for the last 2 weeks. Again, what should they do when filing for weeks after May 23rd? Same response?
Sort of, not quite the same, only because different programs. I'm assuming this is regular UC as opposed to PUA. For the PUA backdating weeks, we have the issue that was brought to our attention this morning, so we're still looking into that. For regular UC, last week we had some claimants, and again, we don't have the number, but it wasn't a lot, so it doesn't seem to be the majority of people, but we have enough people who are being offered weeks out of order. And our IT staff are looking for patterns in that and trying to figure out who's being affected. We had, I know I had a couple different claims where they weren't all affected the same way. So that analysis is also being done, and we're trying to find who is affected and to be able to rectify that. So that is an ongoing issue that we know about. Now, one thing that had worked for many individuals in that situation is to simply decline the week. Whenever our system offers you a week for filing, this is our regular UC system, it offers you a week for filing, and it says, do you want to claim the week of, and it gives you the date. And if you don't want to, you can just say no, and it'll bypass it and move to the next week. That has been working for many of the people in that situation, and then they're able to claim for their next weeks. But it may turn out that the next time they log in the next week, that old week is still being offered to them. So we're trying to figure out why the older weeks continue being offered and be able to shut that down. In some of the cases I've seen, it's where someone had a claim prior to April and it wasn't eligible, so they requalified. They qualified for a new claim in April, and we're thinking the older claim might be interfering with the newer claim. It shouldn't be, but that's one of the paths we're looking at so far, so that if individuals are on a newer claim as of April or later, it should only be those weeks on that claim that are being offered to the person.
WPXI's Ashley Bishop asks, is it true that the extra $600 a week which people receive is impacting their ability to file for SNAP and collect assistance? Can you explain what impact this is having on people?
We do provide our unemployment payment information to the Department of Health, whoever specifically. I'm not sure which bureau specifically. DHS. Okay. So that's something that we do all the time, and I can't say exactly how it affects their payments, but I know it does, simply because they need that information from us on how much we're paying people unemployment. So that is a piece of information that they receive at all times about someone's individual benefits. And then, of course, during this time, there's the additional $600 on top of it that they take into account. So DHS would have to, say exactly how they calculate that or what they use that information for.
Lee Lesniak from NBC 10 asks, we've heard from viewers over the past weeks who say they're still waiting for their unemployment benefits. Many of these viewers tell us that they've not been able to get through to L&I via phone, email, or chat. And the responses they've been receiving have been generic. One couple tells us they were able to get through on the phone and were promised a follow-up call with a resolution, but say they never heard back. What advice do you have for claimants who are experiencing these issues?
Go ahead.
No, you go, Susan, then I'll follow up, please.
Sure. I was going to mention that as we go along, we are updating our troubleshooting guide on our website, www.uc.pa.gov. As a matter of fact, I have some changes that might be going in today as well. As time goes on, we find there's more situations where individuals just don't quite understand unemployment, and that could alleviate some of the answers. For example, this past week, we've run into several claims where individuals were, expecting payment from us and waiting for payment. And then when we looked at their claims, it turns out they've been working part-time. They've been reporting their earnings as they should, and they're making excessive earnings, so they're not owed a benefit for the week. So it's some of it is just a basic understanding of how the program works and what the parameters are and eligibility issues and how those are come into play. So there are individuals, of course, where we still have outstanding issues on the claim that we're looking into. Anything that's as old as March and early April, for the most part, those have all been taken care of. So if an individual, is having an issue, I suggest looking at the troubleshooting guide first, if they have internet access. And, if they have to get in touch with us, the best way is an email. The number of days on our website that are listed are not the number of days it's going to take someone to reach, or it's going to take us to reach back to them. It's really just a worst case scenario. So if it's, 50 days, that's really just, our estimate of worst case. That's not really how long it's going to take to get back. So at least sending an email, secures that person's place in line. And if they wish to try to call us in the meantime or chat with us, we do have a lot more staff on the UC chat function on our website. Those would be great ways to try to reach us as well.
Okay, and Susan, we're asking, oh, I'm sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
Thank you, Teresa. Just to put some of the numbers in perspective, we know people are having difficulty to get through, but people are getting through. Since March 15th, we've answered over 100,000 chats, over 200,000 phone calls, and over 425,000 emails. So we're getting to it. It really is still a matter of volume, and making sure that when we do get back to people, that we have the right answers for them. The people that we have hired and have brought in over the past couple weeks, a lot of them, their training is being finished. Some are starting this week. Some have already started, but more will be starting this week and next week. So we're hoping as those people come in and get more comfortable and understand the system better, we're not hoping, we're expecting that within a few weeks, our numbers should be improving with the phone calls and the emails.
Okay, for Jerry and Susan, this is a reporter asking for a follow-up in reference to that response, and they want to know how long is it taking for those who filed to receive a response and benefits. The reporter states they know that we've added additional staff to help handle the volume. Why are we still hearing about people having an issue getting through or getting their benefits?
I think Susan can speak to that, but a lot of that is because the claims there are specific issues with specific claims, and they have to be reviewed manually. They have to be reviewed by someone individually going through it and reaching back out to the claimant. Susan, do you want to add anything to that?
That's correct. All of the individuals that we have been training to help us, people from other agencies, brand new staff, they don't have the in-depth knowledge that our few staff from before the pandemic do have. So in a lot of cases, we're very grateful to have those helpers to be able to help us with more generic problems, resetting people's PINs, for example, any type of information on a claim that they can look at. When it comes to actually adjudicating a claim or doing some of the really heavy lifting with claims, or troubleshooting a problem that seems very complex, we do need our regular staff to do that work. So if individuals are getting through on chat or getting through on the phone, we're helping them the best they can. But as things are more complicated, they'll generally need someone to call them back if they can't help them on the spot there. So individuals who we still have way more, phone calls and chats and requests than that than staff. I mean, even if we add 100 staff, we have tens of thousands of claims that are still, people are trying to contact us for one reason or another, which again is why I encourage people to look at our website. So much of our information may answer someone's question before they try to contact us. If they see what it is that might be affecting their claim, they may have a better understanding of what they have to do or what they don't have to do. A lot of individuals think that they may have to reach us if there's an eligibility issue on their claim, but that's not really true. We reach out to you at the time that we're processing your claim, so you reaching out to us earlier isn't really going to affect anything or necessarily speed it along. So if we reach out to an individual, and generally an examiner will have a phone number for that person to contact them as they get questions that they have to answer about their claim. So that doesn't necessarily come through the main queue. So we do have more examiners now. In the past, I think 2 or 3 weeks now, we've had more individuals helping us with the phone, so we were able to shift our unemployment claims examiners, the ones who really have in-depth knowledge of UC, over to making decisions on claims. So, the past few weeks, that's been very helpful to be able to tackle any type of adjudication backlog that we have and make sure that benefits are getting out the door, or at least for individuals who may not be eligible, get those determinations out saying that they're not eligible so that they understand what's happening with their claim.
Next, Fox 4's Chelsea Corbett asked, how has the majority of counties moving into the green phase impacted unemployment benefits? And are there significantly less people receiving UC now?
It's early. We don't have a full understanding of the impact that the openings will have. We do know that our claims have leveled off some and actually declined in some weeks, so that's a good thing. But we're going to have to wait for our Center for Workforce Information and Analysis to really delve into those numbers more deeply and to let us know what's going on and what the correlation is.
Next, we have Kristen Johansson from KYW News Radio. What would be the reason the extra $600 would stop on regular UC payouts, but regular UC is still paid? And have there been issues with regular UC claimants filing for retroactive claims?
So for the first part, for regular UC, the $600 payments continue as long as the person is eligible for the week. If they're not eligible, for example, any eligibility reason, first of all, where they wouldn't get a payment, but also if they are working excessive hours and making excessive money for the week from employment, they would not be eligible for a $600 payment either. So, it depends on the situation, but for the most part, if someone is receiving regular UC, they'd receive the additional $600 as well. And the second part of that, Teresa, I forget that.
The second part of it was, and I'm stalling as I scroll back up. Okay, here we go.
Sorry.
That's okay. And have there been issues with regular UC claimants filing for retroactive claims?
So for there's two types of retroactive claims. There's if you're asking about an initial claim, like a new claim, and they want their entire effective date to be backdated. We do have that all the time. Those requests come in from individuals on an individual basis. So if someone called us or were sending us an email saying that they were interested in backdating their claim for so many weeks, an examiner would likely call them. If it were a long period of time, if it were only a couple weeks, in our regulations, it allows us to go back 6 weeks in order for someone to file during a time when they could not get through on the phones, they couldn't contact the department. So we can automatically go back 6 weeks with the effective date of the claim. If it's more than that, an examiner would likely just speak to them and get their story, and then issue a determination. If they were disapproved, if they're approved, it might not take a determination. They might just approve the backdating. If it's the ongoing weeks, we are still offering 6 weeks back whereas regular UC, normally you get 2 weeks at a time and that's it. If you miss it, you're not timely, and then the department has to make a decision after talking with you as to whether or not you're eligible for those. But throughout this pandemic, we've been offering many weeks backward. I think the most we went up to was 10 or 11 weeks, and we've since restricted it back down to 6. As the initial bubble of claims got through, and we had claims were getting processed. So right now, individuals can still file for up to 6 weeks of payments back if they had not otherwise been set up for the weeks, or they somehow missed them. They can get those back payments. For anyone who isn't being offered the right weeks, the weeks that they expect to be offered, other than the IT problem we mentioned earlier, where some weeks are being offered out of order for some reason. If someone does have an effective date that's later than they would like, or they know that they're not going to be offered weeks that they should be offered in the past, they would have to contact us. They can send us an email and say what it is they're looking for, and then we look at the situation, one at a time.
Thank you, Susan. We're about to enter our final round of questions, and I encourage any reporters that have additional questions, please submit them via the chat button at this time. Next, we have John Finnerty from CNHI Newspapers. There have been lingering questions that employers may be struggling to recruit workers to come back to work because workers are getting more in unemployment than they got paid for working due to the $600 a week benefit. Have you seen actual evidence that workers are refusing to go back to work? And do you have any way to know whether workers are refusing to work due to the benefits or for other reasons like fear or unsafe workplaces?
We do have a spot on our website where employers can report refusal of work. We've also communicated to employers via email the address, the email address of that account where those reports go, so that they can send full spreadsheets if that's easier for them. Because our website really just takes it one claimant at a time. So we've provided the email address so that they can send us full spreadsheets. Now, everyone that they're reporting to us isn't necessarily an issue. We have staff who triage, and some of them may be individuals who are refusing work, and we have to look into it further and issue a determination. Other times, employers are just sending us spreadsheets of all their employees. Some of them might not even have unemployment claims. So they're just kind of giving us everything they've got. Sometimes the individuals haven't refused work, but the employer is just sharing with us everyone that they have working now, which then helps us to see if anyone is still filing a claim, but they're being reported as working what seems to be full-time hours, then they shouldn't be having a claim, and then we would have to investigate that and possibly shut down the claim. So there's kind of a variety of things that we receive in that resource account. They're not necessarily all refusal of suitable work, which is what the account is for. So it takes some triage and getting the right things out to the service centers to contact the individuals and adjudicate where it's necessary.
Next, we have WNSI's Ashley Bishop, and she asks, can you receive the extended benefits while on FPUC and PEUC, or is it only available after you exhaust those programs? The reporter's looking for clarification on when people have access and what exactly it does. Does it just extend weeks or the amounts?
So the FPUC program specifically is not a separate program that comes before or after anything. The FPUC $600 is just paid on top of all other programs at the same time. So that's a completely separate type of program. The PEUC program is, a base unemployment program where you can't be on one more than one unemployment program at a time. You can only have one unemployment claim at a time. So the PEUC needs to expire before someone goes on to EB. Maybe expire isn't the best word. The PEUC has to run out of money. It has to, what we call MBE, your maximum benefits exhausted. So your claim has to go MBE before we can set you up for the extended benefits claim. Very similar to PEUC, actually. It's just another up to 13 weeks of benefits. It's the same weekly benefit amount that you had on your regular UC claim. It's the maximum benefit amount is determined by how long your regular UC claim was. So it's really just a secondary extension, if you want to think of it that way.
Could also clarify, PEUC is a federal program. Extended benefits is a state program that kicks in when our unemployment rate reaches a particular level. There are certain guidelines before that kicks in.
Next, we have Isaac Pettick from Erie News Now. There are some PUA claimants that are still in progress with their claims due to an issue with IP code 261. What do they need to do to be able to resolve this issue?
On their dashboard, there is an explanation of the 261 and what we need for that. That's the identity issue where we just need to identify their who they are before they proceed. So there's information there on the dashboard that explains that we need two forms of identification. One of them has to be a photo ID, federal or state issued photo ID, and the other one some other form of identification. And we have some examples there on the dashboard. So another place where they can see that is we put the information generally on our website as well. So they can check one of those places and it'll provide them with information on what they need to resolve that ongoing issue.
Okay, we are just about out of time. Again, if any reporters have any additional questions at this time, please submit them now. Next, we have Bill Kibler from Altoona Mirror. Susan, can you explain what the combination rate is again, please?
Sure. So the weekly benefit amount that someone gets is established by what their highest quarter of wages were. There's a table in the unemployment law that shows if your highest quarterly wages were such an amount, then your weekly benefit amount is going to be this. So you can go, and we actually have that on our website as well. You can see what someone's earnings for a quarter would then result in for a weekly benefit amount. And of course, we're looking at 4 quarters for someone's base year. We're not looking at all of their recent unemployment, all of their recent employment. We're looking at the first 4 of the last 5 completed quarters. That's what's referred to as someone's base year. So in their base year, we look at their highest quarter. Their highest quarter says what their weekly benefit amount will be. And then the weekly benefit amount, from there, we calculate 30% of that, which is their partial benefit credit. So then what you do is you take the weekly benefit amount and you add the partial benefit credit to come up with the combination rate. And the combination rate is what we're using to compare weekly earnings to. So if someone reports weekly earnings, we use the combination rate and we subtract the weekly earnings, and then the individual would receive benefits in the amount of the difference between those two. So if someone's earnings exceed the combination rate or meet the combination rate, they would not receive a benefit for that week. They wouldn't be considered unemployed for that week.
Next, Taylor Toshef asks, can you please repeat what has been done to improve the progress of taking calls?
For taking calls, we have additional staff coming on each week. So we have more individuals. For example, our latest agency that we're partnering with is PHIA, the Pennsylvania Higher Education Association, Anyway, PHIA is helping us, especially right now because they don't have, because there was student loan forgiveness, they have some free time. So they have all of their call center employees that we're able to use, and we've trained them in 3 batches. The first batch is going to start taking live calls tomorrow. And so they're our latest wave. And then as the second and third batches come out of training, they will also be helping us with calls. Up till this point, we've had waves of new staff. So not necessarily other agencies helping us, but bringing on new staff to take calls. What we've been trying with the new staff, though, is actually having them take chats because chat is just a little bit slower paced than a real-time phone call. A little bit less pressure so that they can more thoroughly understand what they're doing. Unemployment is so complicated that it's very overwhelming, especially when you're put on the phones and you have to try to figure out someone's issue by looking at the things you've seen in training for the last few weeks. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a whole lot, not just the unemployment law, but the systems that we use and knowing where to look and where to find the answers that you're looking for and how to help people. So we've been having more of the new staff use chat And we're able to shift more of the more seasoned staff over to the phones. And that's been happening probably the last 3 weeks or so. So now that we have the FIA staff coming on starting tomorrow and next week, and possibly the week after that, they'll also be helping with the phone situation. I always say the phones are easier to reach us Thursdays and Fridays than Mondays and Tuesdays. We've actually had, some technical issues. If you remember, we discussed this on previous media Monday morning or Monday afternoon media calls, where there were some days that our virtual desktop was down, and it always seemed to be on Fridays. So Friday's a great day for us to catch up on work, and we always seem to be affected lately on Fridays. It's bad luck, I guess. So anyway, now that we have all of this additional help, they'll help us catch up from where we are. And they'll be able to, tackle a lot more of those phone calls, especially most calls we get aren't complicated ones. They are more easily solvable things. So if we can, get those out of the way, then we can focus most of the staff on the more complicated issues.
KYW News Radio's Kristen asked, regarding the $600, if someone stops receiving it all of a sudden, but is still not working and just getting regular UC, who should they contact? Not sure if this is a DOL issue or Treasury Department.
I mean, that would be us, but I have not heard of an issue with anyone not receiving their $600 after they've already been receiving it. I know we had some issues in the beginning with individuals with overpayments weren't receiving it, and we've addressed those. But if someone was receiving it, they should continue receiving it. So if there is an issue, we would want that individual to report that to us, and they can do that by a simple email. We do have staff that are looking at the emails, some of the emails as they come in, as opposed to looking at just the oldest emails, even though the majority of staff are looking at the oldest emails. So, and that's why, because if anything new arises, that'll raise our interest in what's going on here, and then we can look into it more. So there shouldn't be any reason, no reason that I know of that they've stopped making those payments. There's also the possibility, I always, especially in explaining how FPUC works with UC payments specifically, because we only pay them once a week for FPUC, there is a whole timing issue where you get paid separately for it, and it might be a week later. Depending on when you filed, it might actually be 2 weeks later. So the individuals should just, keep track of which regular payments they received and which $600 payments were tied to it, and make sure that they're tracking properly which payments go with which. Sometimes we've had people do that and take a look at it more closely and realize that they did actually receive all their $600 payments, they just weren't aware. So if there is something going on, though, I encourage the person to report that issue to us, and we'll take a look.
Joe Chevalier from Bucks County Courier-Time asked, are part-time employees eligible for the $600 extra payment expiring next month? And if they weren't receiving it but should have, what are their options?
Yes, individuals who even get $1 from us will get the $600 payment. Sometimes even if someone gets $0 from us, they'll get the $600 payment. It depends on the situation. If someone doesn't get any payment from us because of excessive earnings, they worked too much, then they would not be eligible for unemployment for the week, and they would not receive the $600 payment. However, if someone was receiving a small part-time payment from us, but let's say their payment was reduced to $0 because of a child support attachment, or because the federal withholding, which is 10%, let's say the federal withholding took the full amount, something along those lines where they had an underlying amount of benefits that we would have given them, those individuals are still eligible for the $600 payment. So it's only in, really only in the cases of excessive earnings or a penalty week where someone doesn't receive any payment for the week, they're really not eligible for the payment for the week that they wouldn't receive the $600.
Okay, we are just about out of time, but Susan, I held this last question for you for last. It's a great one to wrap on. Ashley from WPXI asked, what is the biggest mistake people are still making on UC and PUA? And what is the biggest takeaway you want claimants to understand about the UC system?
Oh, have to choose just one. So
You could choose a couple.
there are, and even prior to the pandemic, there were certain mistakes that people make, and when the pandemic started, of course, that was exacerbated. And we really tried to address those with our troubleshooting guide and messaging, and even so, they continue. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're filing continuing claims, and this is on any program, not just on regular UC, but one of the biggest mistakes they make is saying that they are not able and available to work when really they are able and available to work. That one is just kind of like our quintessential example of what individuals will answer incorrectly. And so I know for regular UC, maybe a month or two ago, we added additional information on our continued claims application to explain to people what it meant, so that they had some context and could make a better decision. And still they're answering it incorrectly. Once our claims staff call them and try to get to the heart of why it is that they're not able to work and why it is that they're not available to work, they'll find out that they just answered it incorrectly. So able and available question is still probably the number one question. We try to combat it as much as we can, and of course, individuals, once they do it the first time and their payment gets held up, they pretty much learn not to do it again. But we have new people coming on to unemployment every week, so they'll get in that same boat. On the PUA program, it is the question about, other than the able and available question, on the PUA program, it's the question about whether or not you're unemployed due to a disaster. And if you say no, then you're not eligible for PUA. So that's holding a lot of people up because they don't understand what it means to be unemployed. They have a different definition in their head of what that means. But really, we're just looking to see, is the reason you're not working because of this pandemic? And if the answer is yes, then they're okay. But it just holds up payment until we figure that out. So we definitely I sound like a broken record, but unemployment compensation is complicated. It's complicated. There's jargon involved. We try all the time to get customer feedback and make our information better on our website and on our forms. And my suggestion for anyone dealing with unemployment is just to read what we give you thoroughly and do your research on our website or in the pamphlets that we send you, and understand the program and kind of understand what the program is getting at. It's for people who are otherwise attached to the workforce but just can't find work, and it's no fault of their own. So it really comes down to that premise. No matter which question we're asking, there's so many different exclusions in our law. So it pays to know exactly why it is we're asking those questions, and how it might pertain to someone's situation. So research is their best friend in trying to fill out our applications and answer our questions. At the same time, we love getting claimant feedback, actually, because it helps us to understand where we need to add additional information or change our language so that they understand what it is we're asking.
And with that, we are just about out of time. I'd like to ask Susan or Secretary Oleksiak if you have any final thoughts to share with today's call participants.
Just thank everyone for joining us and for helping get the word out. We're excited that we're making some real progress on the PUA backdating issue and some other things related to PUA. And we hope to have some definitive numbers for you when we talk the next time. But we are continuing to do what we can to get people the benefits they deserve. So thank you.
And for me, I'll just remind everyone that we will have more extended benefits information available this week on our website especially, and we'll be starting to get the word out to claimants so that they know what's coming next. So be watching for that, especially we're targeting Thursday of this week, so that you can get the additional information on extended benefits and how that's going to look for the public.
Secretary Oleksiak and Susan, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for our reporters on the call, if you have any additional follow-up questions, please email our communications office at dlipress@pa.gov. Thank you and stay well.